We saw the worst incident possible take place Monday night in the NFL's Bills vs. Bengals game in Cincinnati. And the well-being of Damar Hamlin is the only thing that matters in the grand scheme of things. And we all know that life and death issues are way more important than any game will ever be. I've also had many people ask me, what does this mean for the future of football? Even though that really doesn't matter at all in this situation. Now, I say we've seen the safety protocols increase. We know the effort to lessen head injuries and try to understand what to do to make the game as safe as possible. We've also seen multiple high-profile players retire very early because of their personal health and future. Luke Kuechly, Andrew Luck, I can go down the list. And even after all the strides taken, the game is still very dangerous. And the stark truth is that the game will never be safe. And the higher you go in football, the more violent it gets. You still continue to try and make it safer, but we all know how big of a risk high-level football is to a player's health. We also have to realize what happened to Damar Hamlin is very rare. I've watched football for 30 years, and I've never seen that happen before. We also have to understand the concussion issue is very different from the horror that we saw Monday night. Both are very scary, but we have to be able to separate the two when discussing consistent injury problems. We always talk about the future of football and if players will eventually be wearing flags. And while we need to continue to find ways to keep players safe, the risk will always be there. But the sad irony is the reason the game is dangerous is the same reason we love it so much. It's the reason the sport is as popular as it is, and that is the speed and violence of the game. Now, sometimes we get so caught up in our team or our bets, we forget that these are human beings that are doing superhuman things in real time. Is there a great answer for player safety or a perfect answer? Not yet, but we all recognize the risks, and when you play, you know the possibilities. It doesn't make it hurt any less. And yes, it is just a game. But if we take away what makes the game great to prevent it being dangerous, then we won't have a game anymore. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback, David Cohn, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, my brother, Blaine Crane. Guys, this is all about Damar Hamlin's health. Regardless of what happens with the future of football in the grand scheme of things, that really means nothing. But I've been asked a bunch about it. I've seen people talk about it. And even before this, we've seen the rule changes protecting not only quarterbacks, but players in general. And I'm all for player safety. My question to you, Cone, is with the direction that football is going, and now this, which is a rare occurrence, very rare, solar eclipse rare, maybe even rarer than that in football. Do you see this having an impact on the way the game is played? And again, I do want to say, obviously, Damar Hamlin's health is way more important than any of the stuff we're talking about right now.
Well, yeah, and I know we're all caught up in this situation right now. And the good news is for Damar Hamlin, I think his condition has improved. What was the stat? He was 100% on a
100% on oxygen. And then it was his 50%. Uncle, I believe, said it was 50% now. They're worried. It said they're worried a little bit about potential lung damage, but it seems the signs are pointing in a positive direction. Everybody keep praying out there.
So that's the update that we have right now. So yes, everyone keep praying. Yes, the future of football will look drastically different than the game that we know today. And I just say that based on the way that society is trending. And many, many parents are having this conversation around the breakfast table right now as we speak. Should we allow our son to play football? And more, the answer to that question is no. Not only about playing, but also many parents don't want their kids watching football anymore. And sometimes the word that gets used to describe, that mindset within a generation is soft. I want to use the word comfortable, right? Because many of us are fortunate to live more comfortable lives than our ancestors did. It's not that many generations ago. For some of us, our fathers, for some of us, our fathers' fathers, where going out and hitting each other and playing football would have been the least dangerous thing we did that day. Because they were taking a respite from war or building skyscrapers or oil rigs or something like that.
Rules.
Exactly. So, part of the reason, too, is we view football now just as entertainment. I don't see it that way. I see football and other forms, traditional rites of passage as necessary outlets for masculine aggression, basically, right? So the main point that I want to make is we continue to run a risk analysis of football and not just football, but these other rites of passage that we have for our children, especially young men. We also need to analyze the risk of not having those, right? Because severing our children from these rites of passage will oftentimes have more consequences than benefits.
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's the gladiator sport of our time. It's the arena. Look, rugby's awfully physical. You see the injuries. there as well. And you're, I mean, you already have a son. You're about to have.
I'm not immune from this. I come home, I look at him, and I ask myself.
Lou talked about.
We have the conversation all the time, and not specifically right now about just playing football, but like I said, it's a broader spectrum of what's going on. My father-in-law played 11 years for the New York Jets. He was the first one to call me after this situation and say, "See, that's why neither one of his sons played football." Now, I don't think that he or many or your father or anyone that I talked to who made their legacy playing the game would go back and change. You know, that they signed a contract with themselves. But at the same time, yes, when I come home, the best part of my day is coming home and seeing my son, who's only a toddler right now. But yeah, I think, are there other ways that he can benefit from, you know, traditional rites of passage and being able to have an outlet for competition that don't involve head injuries every single day? It's a conversation we all have.
Yeah, but with that, I mean, we'll all be wearing VR here in about 10 years anyway, so maybe they'll just turn it into VR. Blaine, you know, obviously our father, he didn't let me play football until I was 12 years old. He didn't want me to do it, didn't want me to get into coaching.
Wait, he didn't want you to play, y'all to play football at all?
He didn't want me to play. I had to beg him when I was 12 years old.
No, he let me play.
He was an All-American. Well, after I think he saw me when I was 12 and I was fine. But
so as the youngest,
but the crazy part about my dad was my dad didn't want me to get coached wrong. See, he could coach him when he was younger. When I was Blaine's age, he couldn't coach me because he was with what he was doing with work. So there was a little bit different too. He could monitor it with Blaine and you know the contact and stuff like that. But you know, Blaine, we talk about how important team sports is, and I'm with you 100%, David. I think sports is a great outlet for aggression for males. I think if sports would have been as popular as it was back in the day, we may not have had as many wars as possible. Because imagine if we didn't have sports. Imagine if we did. What would be the outlet for young men to be able to take out their aggression? The military. What else is there? You know, or roam the street in gangs. I don't know, like gangs in New York. Where's Daniel Day-Lewis? But Blaine, if you football is one of the greatest teachers of life, in my opinion. Because you do go through adversity physically and mentally. It's full encompassed. Kind of, what are your thoughts on the future of football? After
not good. Situation? It's not good. Not even this. But football is so polarizing now. I mean, obviously this is an exception. We really never seen something like this. But even all the concussions, getting knocked out, you see every time someone gets knocked out, and it's not a good look. Obviously not. But we live in a society today where they want men to be what? Soft and stupid. That's what they want you to be. Masculinity is a bad thing. I mean, they want girls to be more manly than men. And I mean, it's obvious. You see in the military, we can't even meet quotas in the military. You know, it's getting to a point now, if you are a male and you try to provide for your family, you try to do certain things that comes with being a male, it's looked at as a bad thing.
You were taught.
In football is slowly progressing to one you might as well put flags on. All right, and we're going to turn this into a 7-on-7. When it comes to football, there's a reason why these guys get paid all this money. There's a reason why the guys come out here and they want to play this life lessons. And we are violent in nature. We are competitive in nature when it comes to being a man. But it's slowly decreasing, right? Hell, testosterone levels in guys growing up, generations are getting lower and lower. And this is what they want. They want women turned. They want to divide us in a certain type of way. They don't want the father to be the father. They want the woman to feel like they can go out and be a man, do this, raise a kid, be masculine to the kid. There's roles that need to get played when it comes to human life and being a man and being a woman. But they slowly want football out of the game. They want violence out of the game. They don't want competitiveness. They don't care if you're a guy or girl. A girl can be just as masculine as a man, and then they want guys to be absolute betas. And you see it in today's society, not only in football, but it's everywhere. So I would not be surprised in the next 5 to 6 years, less hitting, maybe no pads, different helmets. They'll go, obviously player safety matters. It matters. I'm not saying it doesn't. But there's a level of violence that comes with this game. You're going to get hurt when you play this game. You're probably going to get knocked out when you play this game. But we are men, all right? We like violence. We like competitiveness. This is just in our DNA. So will I be surprised if 5 years from now we're tagging off and we're just throwing the ball? No one's running the ball? No, because at this point, society wants girly guys.
Yeah, and again, like I said, you know, regardless of where you sit on either side of the fence in this situation, the thing that matters the most is Damar Hamlin's health, and it's good to see him continue to get better. And like we said, make sure you keep praying. Hey YouTube, what's up? Make sure you subscribe, share this video as well, hit that like button, and turn on that bell for notifications. Because if you do, your team's going to win the championship this year.